Evening, everybody, and also others who are joining from elsewhere, maybe the morning or the evening for you all. And thank you for joining. And today is again our regular Sunday meeting on 19th May 2024. So as leads, you will know that we are sharing knowledge between each other and then try to come to decisions and reach resolutions in relation to our national issues. So that's what basically we are doing. And since the system change has been a topic for such a long time now, it's probably important to know where the system was broken to start with, so that how to fix it will probably come out as a result of these discussions as well. So the today's speaker is Sunil Jayasundara, and Sunil Jayasundara is a retired civil engineer. He qualified from Katobadda and has worked overseas as well as in the State Engineering Corporation. And he studied the issues that has happened in the parliament very thoroughly. So he's understanding what has gone wrong, because I think it's important people to study exactly what has gone wrong. But on the other way, now 3 years we've been talking, and then we always wanted to walk the talk. And then because there's no point just talking, we have to take action if something needs to happen. So because of this reason, we went to form the system change Peramuna. I'm glad to announce today we have a leader for system change Peramuna, and also he will be the presidential nominee. And his name is Lasil De Silva. Most of you probably know him already. And he has 37 years of experience in the parliament administration and legislative departments. So he's probably the best person who understands what has gone wrong in the system. Now, he is genuinely committed to making a change and reducing our costs of living amidst many obstacles for the benefit of our future generations. So he's really committed to do this, and it's our duty to rally around him and support his mission. And then we have also a deputy leader who is Brigadier Ranjan De Silva. Now you can see how the strength is coming. He is the deputy leader, but he is also an ethically primed lawyer and a soldier, both together, serving the nation. And he is committed to re-establishing impartial, independent, rational, and fair law and order, which is crucial for Sri Lanka. And he does all he can to promote a system change for peaceful living without corruption and fear, while providing multiple opportunities for education and skill development. So he is also really committed, and we are glad, and I salute for him joining to take this huge task forward. Now, at the same time, we also have a separate website, and it will highlight who we are in a nutshell, and also what we are. These are kind of our culture that will be detailed. It's worth looking at it. And as who, what are we means, we will uphold equality, transparency, meritocracy, honesty, humanity, inclusivity, and pragmatism in everything we do. And we will be honoring the democracy within our organization as well. And also everything that we preach should happen in the parliament or in our governance will also be followed within ourselves as well, which is good. And I was surprised this morning when I was looking to see our Peramuna progress. I saw another advertisement, which I'll show you in a second. Now, Ranjan De Silva said, this is a Himalayan task. True, it is like climbing the Everest. It's a huge task. And getting the message across to the people is important. And this has to be in all three languages. And we are translating as much as possible to Sinhala and Tamil. Even our speech today now on the uh, Zoom can be heard by Tamil translation or English translation. And also the websites can be converted to Sinhala and Tamil through a separate link as well. So we are progressing slowly. And the getting the message across, we are not the kind of people who will use plastic or cutouts. That will not be our propaganda. So we'll be having a poor people's campaign. So the poor people campaigns will need maybe leaflets, word of mouth is probably the way. So if you are happy, you just tell your friend there's something like this going on, worth taking a look at it, and so spread the word so that word of mouth will carry us to the deep into the nation. Media, if possible, through the TV, if it's coming through, that is good. I mean, we have now the leader and the deputy leader. If they get invitations to speak, that is good as well. So let's proceed. Funding, of course, to date, we have been only voluntarily doing all this work. But we will welcome if anybody is happy to fund any projects like a leaflet printing or a TV time or something like that as a project, not as money, then we will welcome that as well. So we will learn as we lead, walk as we talk, and teach as we fight. Fight means we are now in a battle in a way, not a violent one, but winning the nation one. That is what we are trying to do. And I have put the email down here for Lasil if you want to contact. Lasil at systemchange-peramuna.org. And then, so if you want to communicate with him, you can directly do that. So that's where we are. And then I was surprised to see this morning, this little bit on the net. Asian Human Rights Foundation has quoted our system change Peramuna. Two important things there. It's better to read this at some point and say that we will do what we preach. And then there is a glimmer of hope amidst all this chaos. So which is very good compliment for all our work we have done and also your contribution. So I'll stop there. I will ask Sunil to join with his Sunil, are you there, Sunil?
Yeah. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah. So when you want to change the page, just let me know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for participating in this discussion. My name is Sunil Jayasundara. Today, I will be presenting the topic of how our sovereign rights were stolen by the 99A of the Constitution when they introduced this 14th Amendment. Now, as you see, it's infringement of the sovereign rights. The 14th Amendment established the proportional representative system. Over time, its evolution has infringed our sovereign rights of the people. That is the main thing which we are talking about. And then the introduction of 99A, as you see in the Constitution, we find this national list under the, and which allows 9 MPs to come into the parliament under national system. But if you look at our Constitution, Article number 4 says these members have to be elected by the people, right? Now, this PR system has allowed them to come indirectly to the parliament. So it's a bit of violation of our entrenched constitutions. There is one thing which I want to tell you that, and this is by a bypass that instead of the direct election, these 29 MPs somehow come into the parliament under PR system. That is one thing, because these enriched provisions which you have to read, Article number 3 and 4, which are the sovereign rights of the people, which cannot be taken out. But having had that Article number 3 and 4, somehow they managed to get into this PR system because there was a disparity of the seats. You know, what happened in the 1978 election, they found Samagi Peramana, they got only 8 seats, and whereas the opposition leader was Amritlingam, and he became the opposition leader, and he had got lesser number of votes, and Samagi Paramuna had more votes and lesser number of seats. So there's a disparity. So about this proportional system, they wanted to talk about. They were talking about this from 1978 to 83 onwards. And 83 only they appointed this committee of what do you call select committee for the franchise and elections. That is how it started, the PR system. Now, as I said, the violation of this Article 4A, right? 4A say mandates legislative power be exercised by the elected representatives. That we have, but nobody has thought about it. I mean, if they wanted to change the entry provisions in the constitution, they should have changed this article number 3 and 4 also, 70 of the people, right? Because they have gone indirectly for the PR system and gave a solution. But you see the problems with the PR system. I mean, the purpose of the PR system is not met at the moment, and because the parliament is now upside down because of this, right? Where these people are coming and going, and so many things are happening with this. Even this defeated candidates. That is the worst part of this one. 99, you see this. There, if you draw your attention, you see there are within brackets. They said anybody on the nomination list can enter the parliament. That is the crucial thing they have entered under 14th Amendment, and the people are misusing this. Right now, can you go to second? Yeah. Now, for this, it is best for us to study in a timeline way how this has happened. Now, coming back, okay, in the 8th of July, 1983, the Select Committee for Franchise and Elections, they appointed a committee of 12 members of the parliament, headed by the Prime Minister R. Premadasa, and the speaker was that time, he was Bakir Makar. And this meeting, you must be knowing all these. I mean, these things. I mean, I'm going to remind you. There were 33 meetings over a period of 5 years. Over a period of 5 years, where about 500 people met together and they discussed, right? And Dr. Kollingadil, for instance, he came in 2 days and about 2 pages he was telling his experience. So it went very well. And it had 677 pages in all these 3 languages, known as the Parliament 109 series report. It was very, I mean, it was that time, it was done very well. During that 5-year period, they discussed everything, and it is recorded everything. Every word they uttered about the method of PR system. But in that report, there was no mention about these defeated candidates coming uh, in that report. You can't find any place, right? So after having 5 years of deliberations with so many people, spent so much money, Mr. Premadasa, he presented this report, 677 pages, on the 29th of 1988. That is after 5 years. You can see the amount of time they have taken. I mean, it's 5 years they have been discussing all this. And they submitted, Mr. Premadasa submitted to the House. And the subsequent next week, 8th of March, he ordered it to be printed, right? And he ordered it to be printed and give it to the members because it was a huge document, and let them study it because it's a very open document. And I want to tell you, there are only two were out of these 12 members, only 2 objected to this. That was Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene, the present Prime Minister, and Mr. D.E.W. Gunasekara. Those are the only 2 objected. And Mr. Mr. Dinesh Gunawardene told at one time, Kasipukaro Kavadakata Hari, make it another Kela. That is what he meant. But unfortunately, even his son has come to the parliament through this list. This is another story. So what happened on the 8th of March, it was ordered to be printed. I'm telling you from all this from my memory. Then what happened? The whole of March, it was not printed, right? And you will be surprised, nobody asked, where is that select committee report? Nobody asked that. Then I asked Mr. Divgunasekara, who is the only person now I could contact. He said it was never printed and nobody seen that document. But somehow I was interested when I want to do this, what do you call it, almost a forensic audit on this 40th amendment, what exactly happened. I had to dig out. Then I went to the public library and got a copy which you can't read it. Then somehow through my friends, somehow I managed to get full copy of the 670 pages. So then I went and studied the everything, because most of the MPs didn't have that copy. It was not printed, not given. The reason, and you can understand why it was not printed, but the problem was, I mean, when it went to former President Jayawardena, he didn't like it very much. It's very unfortunate, but he was thinking how to manipulate and how to fiddle this report and to do his way. That means he wanted to put somebody outside the list the way he likes it. So he was thinking for a long time, nearly 1 month, and how to manipulate this system, right? Because I mean, so up to this time, nobody knew what was going on, but for a month, nobody asked where is the select committee report. And after 1 month, exactly 1 month, it was 8th of April. President Jayawardena, by that time, he had studied the constitution and he found a way to solve this himself. But it appears that he didn't discuss this. I hope you are listening and can you follow me? Am I too fast?
No, go for it. Go for it. We can understand. Thank you.
Okay, but if you think I'm fast, just tell me. So what happened 8th of March, so he found a way how to get over it. So he went to the constitution, he found, okay, I can bring this as a emergency act, right? So when you say emergency, that you don't have to gazette it, right? You can do in a hurry, in a very, quick way. He thought that, so that he will not give all the details, because by this time he got a method to fiddle it. So to insert these 3 lines, if you see this 99A, you can see the within brackets. Within brackets, can you see that in the slide? Can you go to the next slide? Next slide, I think is there. No, before that, go back. Anyway, can you go to the next one? Where he has inserted these 3 lines. No, this is very much after that. If you can go, there is no other.
So this is the second page.
Oh,
The
second
other one
page,
is the third one here.
third one, right. Timeline, that is right. Okay. Anyway, if you go to if you go to the constitution, our constitution, 99A, there is a bracket. It says, I can read out.
Yeah.
I'll just give me because now it is. If you see 99A in the constitution 79, it says within brackets, being persons whose names are included in the list submitted to the commissioner of elections under this article, or in any nomination paper submitted in respect of any electoral district by such party or group of at that election. Now, this is, you find this here within brackets. This was never in the original report, right? Original select committee report, because Mr. Premadasa, he presented this in the draft form. So these within brackets phrases was not there. So this was inserted by President Jayawardena within that time period, within that 1 month, which he didn't allow to print it. So he manipulated and inserted this. Now, having done this, somehow he wanted to get this done through the parliament. So he kept this as a secret. And it looks that even he did not discuss with the prime minister, because he know this is something I can't imagine why he did it, because he was about to hand over the power to Mr. Premadas, so he wanted to continue for the second term. So probably he would have thought, if I do this, I can put my people the way I like, right? Forgetting about what is in the constitution. even if he's defeated, I can get through when you have this insertion, right? Because it says anybody who contested, on the nomination is eligible to go and take that 29 out of that 29 MPs. So probably he would have thought like that. So he manipulated, and now he want to get this act in the parliament, but he didn't want to put it out. So then, what at this moment there was one Mr. Leelatunga. He went to the court asking for a copy of the bill through a lawyer. Then what happened? The Supreme Court, they rejected. We have all the documents. That letter also there. The registrar issued a letter saying that they cannot issue a copy of the bill. So they kept everything as a secret because it was not gazetted, right? And then any bill, as you know, it has to go to the Supreme Court for their court determination. And the other thing here, being in the executive, President Jayawardena, how he put his fingers to the legislative, right? Without even telling the person who submitted it to the parliament. Because Mr. Premadasa, he was the chairman of that committee, and he is the one who presented it to the parliament. Now, in the original bill, this insertion was not there, but he wanted somehow to include this. So he himself drafted the 14th Amendment, which carries about 10 pages, and of course, he had the power to, any emergency bill under the Constitution, President can write a letter to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice, and ask their opinion whether it is in line with the Constitution. That he has the right to do it. But basically, the Line Minister has to submit his bill through the Cabinet and then to the Attorney General and the Supreme Court. But instead, President Jayawardena took all this to his hand, and he himself submitted without going through Mr. Premadasa. So he was not aware. We can see that if you go and to do a study, you can see that he didn't even inform him. So he wrote a letter. It's a personal letter that's also there. I have the copy of this. I can put it here. Then what happened? He submitted to the Supreme Court. At the meantime, that Mr. Leelananda, his request was denied, rejected, right? So, it shows that, there was something going on, but the people didn't know because they thought it was a normal bill because everybody agreed and only two people, only objected. So even the MPs would have thought this is very simple. But this jugglery, which Mr. Jayawardena has done, nobody understood, except, to my opinion, I don't know, I may be not wrong, if you think it is not that way, only the person who talked about it, Mr. Atula Mudali, right, about this insertion. So, and it was Chief Justice was Mr. Parinda Ranasinghe. Now, as you know, Supreme Court, when they go through these bills before it is enacted in the Parliament, it is there on our behalf. They have to check whether they are, any violation of our fundamental rights mentioned in the document, right? Whether it is in line with our Constitution. So, but anyway, they did not go through they didn't go through they didn't go through the original bill, and they didn't go through this, how this inserted these lines. Probably they would have known that, but they disregarded, then they overlooked it, all right? And they simply said, it's all right, go ahead, you don't have to go for a referendum, and you can take the two-third majority and pass it, right? So it was 10 pages. It was 10 pages. And all that was prepared by the former president, right? Then this court determination was forwarded to the speaker, right? Now, normally when you get a court determination, it is the duty, you have to table the whole thing to the MPs. Now, what happened if you go back to the 21st of April, Hansard, you cannot see all the 10 pages are tabled, right? The most important pages was the last page, which carried that manipulation within brackets saying that anybody on the nomination list, it was not seen there. Because now if you get a copy, because I got a copy of the 21st April Hansard. So even that day, the MP was not aware of that uh, insertion by former president, right? So the MPs were not aware of that. So that was the month of April. Now, next point is the 3rd of May. That was the first reading. They want to do it. Because we have first reading, the second reading, and third reading, and final debate. So E.F. Naik was the speaker. So he and they prepared. So better to read the first reading on the 3rd of May. So if you see that third presentation was done by the Prime Minister, right? But the Prime Minister R. Premadasa's name is not there on the front sheet, right? And as per record, I say that again, as per record, you can see that President the Prime Minister Premadasa read that all 10 pages, because the first reading means that no first reading read that. So probably, if not probably, definitely, if Mr. Premadasa submitted that and read for the first time that draft amendment, he would have definitely seen that last page with that within brackets thing, which was not discussed at the committee stage, right? This is the very interesting point, but on the 3rd, Hansard report says that he read it on record purpose. But the problem is, my question, whether did he really read it or just for record purpose, for the procedural purposes, they mentioned that is all read on the 3rd. You understand what I say? So it's very much doubtful. Okay, but this doubt can still be proved the next day. Now, what happened the 4th day? Now, the 4th day, the other thing, if it was tabled properly, this within brackets thing, saying anybody on anybody contested and nominate under nomination, mean that it is a defeated candidate. Normally, our journalists would have known that next day morning is news for them, right? There's a possibility that even the defeated candidates will come to the parliament. That is good news for them. But if you go and see the newspapers, if you go, I have checked that too at the library, I could not find anything. He simply said that particular day, Mr. Premadasa submitted this one, submitted the 14th Amendment to the Parliament. That's it. No details, nothing. But he submitted. So there were no news about the defeated candidate in the newspapers. That was, in the next day at least, because, okay, then the next day, 4th of May, that is the crucial day. Now, that was the day selected for the debate and the final reading and the third, then all that. So, normally, as you know, there is a procedure, standing orders. You have something called, what you call order paper, right? Order paper is a must as per the standing orders in the House. But that particularly, there was no order paper. So the first question was raised by Mr. Anil Munasinghe. He asked, we are going to discuss this 14th amendment. Where is the order paper? He continued, where is the order paper? Where is the select committee report? Now it's more than 1 month. How are we going to debate this without this? Because all Hansard, it is all not my publications, this is all recorded. Hansard recordings are there. There is a question, right? Where is the select committee report? Where is it? Then Mr. Premadasa says, yes, it has gone for printing. Now you can imagine for 1 month, it is being printed. He said verbatim, it's gone to the printer. If you want, you can have a copy in the library. So he says it's there. We could not give a proper answer. And about the order paper also, the speaker said, yes, order paper. Then Lakshman Jayakodi says, where is the order paper? Why did you delete it? Then he said, no, we discussed about this yesterday. No, it will appear tomorrow. What a silly statement by the speaker. This is all recorded in the Hansard. People, if they look at it, this is this is how they are behaving in the parliament. Say it is coming come tomorrow. order paper. Order paper is something which you have to give it to every MP in this table every day before you start your proceedings. But he simply, that because they didn't want even at that particular moment to know by the MPs or anybody else. They were clueless. They do not want to give that because probably the instructions that are given from the top. Don't give all these things, right? Just go and get job done. Just from government side, only Premadasa and Atula Mudali must talk about, and Mr. Premadasa also said in the beginning about this debate, is from a government side, myself, and Mr. Atula Mudali will speak, and balance is your time. 4 o'clock we are taking the vote. Because what I say is because it's a very simple exercise, because we have done all the homework, and yeah, because we over so many years, 5 years, and he gave a very good story about it. So it's very simple. Only two didn't like it, objected it. Other than is everybody agreed it. So it's no problem. However, he says this. What I am presenting today is the in the cream of that report, right? Nothing but that. He continues to say that because we had that all this, and on that only in the draft form they have submitted, and he had submitted in the 29th of February. He recollects his memory, but he didn't give the reason why it was not printed. He just kept quiet. And 29th I submitted. So with the draft copy I submitted, it's the same. Unfortunately, it's not printed. He could not give an answer, right? We know what the answer would be. So then what happened? But අර සිංහලෙන් කිව්වොත් ඉතින් කට බොරු කිව්වත් දිව බොරු කියන්නේ නැහැ කියලා එකක් අහලා තියෙනවනේ. මෙහෙම කතාවක් කියනවා. කොහොම වුණත් ඒක තියෙනවා හැන්සාඩ් එකේම මේ මේ ඒකේ කියනවා මේ මම ඉදිරිපත් කරේ මේකයි එහෙ කොහොම වුණත් තවත් මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ගැන මේ සාකච්ඡාවක් වෙමින් තියෙනවා කියලා මට ආරංචියක් හම්බුනායි කියලා කියනවා. right? එතකොට එහෙම කියලා යා ෂේප් වෙනවා. යා ඊට වැඩිය මුකුත් විස්තර කියන්නේ නැහැ. මේක හරිම ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඒ වෙලාවේදී එතකොට දැන් මෙයා තර්ඩ් ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා දවසේ මෙයා තුන්වෙනි වතාවට පළවෙනි වතාවට කියවුවනේ. මං කිව්වේ අර page number 10 එකේ තියෙන within brackets කෑල්ල first reading එකට අහු වෙන්න ඕන. If you are read it properly, because there is a record on the third he read it for the first time. The Prime Minister, but his name was not there. On record, you can see he read it. If he had read it on the third, he would have definitely seen that is not what they submitted in the original bill. He should have explained. But somehow this has landed as an addition. Probably he would have known. But somehow because the next, that was 1988, 89, because the presidential election was coming. So he would have been very careful not to say that. It's very unfortunate, but he would have known that. But he didn't want to give details about it. He just kept, but හොඳ වෙලාවට එයා දැනගෙන හිටියයි කියන එක තවත් constitution එකේ තවත් මේ draft එකක් යනවා කියලා ඕක තමයි ඔය කෑල්ල. Nothing else. ඕක තමයි උනේ. කොහොම හරි දැන් ඔහොම කරාගෙන දැන් මෙතෙන්දී දැන් ඔය ඒ වෙලාවෙදි දන්නේ නැහැ මේක මේ ඔය මේ පරාජිත කට්ටිය එනවා කියන එක nobody knew about. Around, I think, somewhere around 11:30, 12, only Mr. Richard Patirana, he spotted this paper somewhere, having that clause, that within brackets. And then he said, oh, මේ පරාජිතයටත් දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා ඔන්න කතාව පටන් ගන්නවා මේක වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා රිචඩ් පතිරණ ඒකම ඉතින් අනිල් මුණසිංහත් කියනවා මේක මෙහෙම වෙන්න බෑ මේක වෙන්න බෑ කියලා. ඉතින් දැන් කට්ටිය දන්නේ නැහැ මොකද්ද කියලා මේක. කොහොමද ඒගොල්ලන්ට තේරුණා මේ මුණාම කට්ටිය දෙනවා මේ 3-4 දෙනාම ඉතින් කතා කරා අනිල් මුණසිංහයි ලක්ෂ්මන් ජයකොඩි කතා කරලා කොහොම හරි ඉතින් තවත් දේවල් කතා කරා. ඊට පස්සේ ලක්ෂ්මන් ජයකොඩි ඕකේ ඇමෙන්ඩ්මන්ට් එකක් ගෙනාවා. ඒක හැන්සාඩ් එකේ තියෙනවා. ඒ කියලා තියෙනවා ඔක්කොම අපි ඇග්‍රි වෙන්නම් මේ හැන්සාඩ් එක මේ හැන්සාඩ් එකේ තියෙනවා මේ ලයින් මේ විතින් බ්‍රැකට්ස් කෑල්ල මේක අයින් කරන්න මේක උනෝතින් පරාජිත කට්ටියත් එනවා කියලා he keeps on saying that please delete this otherwise we will agree to it කියලා කියනවා. දැන් ඔහොමම කියාගෙන යනකොට හැම එකනම මේ දිගටම කියාගෙන මේ අන්තිම this could be the last 2 hours, right? It's such an important draft, I mean bill, I mean act. They gave just only a couple of hours. Even I don't think it would have been 2 hours. They didn't have time even to think what exactly is going on, right? They could not have, because everything was done in a closed manner by the president, because that was instruction he was given. So then what happened then? Lakshman Jayakodi, he did the amendment and he gave it to the speaker. Then while the discussion is going on, he said, okay, I have given an amendment to delete these lines. And then he asked directly from Atulam Mudali, here we have requested, haven't you got your copy? Then surprisingly, he says, no, I don't know, I didn't get a copy. How come? Then Lakshman Jayakula, here, then you can have it. Then he looked at it. Atulam Mudali, no, we don't agree to this. He point blank says, we don't agree to this. Then immediately, next moment, E.S. Senanayaka asked, Speaker, do you agree to this? No. Right? He said, no, we don't agree to it. Then what to do? Then what happened? Then it was maybe close to 4 p.m. They went for the vote. Right? Then that time, I think Katahandawal, they took the vote, and the vote was taken. It was voted 128 by 2, 128 for and 2 against. 2 against was Dinesh Gunawardena and Jiv Gunasekara. And will you believe, even the people who objected and who had arguments about this, right? That was Lakshman Jayakodi, Anil Munisi Anga Bandaranaika, Andasanaka, all these 6 MPs from SLFP, they also voted along with those people. That is how it became 128. Only 2 objected, right? And it was passed on. This is how it happened. Now, all these what I have mentioned here, what I say are backed up by Hansard reports, every word. Because I have got everything. A copy of the Hansard. If anybody wants to have any confusion, anywhere they can understand or their interpretation, I would like to welcome hear their view. Welcome their views. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Maybe this is a bit complicated because I took nearly 3 months to get this exercise done, because there were a lot of stories going on here and there. This Paradit. Then only I had an interest to find out exactly, and it took nearly 3 months to get all these copies of the Hansards, going to the public library, collecting all the facts and figures, everything. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Any questions, I am prepared to answer.
Thank you, Sunil, for that wonderful presentation. Basically, you taught us how to think the Constitution, isn't it? It's nice to know how people have done these things in the past. And I got someone raising hand already. Basil Fernando has raised the hand for you. Basil, yes.
It's a very interesting and very absolutely correct details, because I have myself followed this by other sources. Now the question that really come up is, when we know that what was submitted by to the parliament is one text, and then what was sought and approval from the Supreme Court is another text, and then thereafter it has been passed. What can anybody do about it? Now that is where the systems, tampering with the system, is has gone in that way. There are 2 reasons why this amendment, this went on this way. That's for 2 reasons. Even Mr. Premadasa, who was opposed to this amendment of allowing people who have lost elections to come to the parliament, did not make any fuss about it. Even after he got to know that this is not what was intended, and this was not what they wanted, and he was opposed to it. But once president has intervened, he did not go. We can assume the reason why he did not pursue it anymore is because that would have meant a conflict between the prime minister and the president, which he did not want. Secondly, it also, when this whole issue came up even later, till recently, this whole debate is going on this issue, because one lawyer raised this whole thing again, and ultimately ended up him getting into trouble for raising this. The Supreme Court also, once the president has made this suggestion, they didn't want to get into a conflict with president. So our system, this is where the real issue, when you say system change, for a democratic system to work, it is absolutely essential that all the various bodies that work could work with the confidence that despite of differences, they can settle among themselves in their parties or wherever. There is a certain respectability, objectivity, and integrity in the process. Now, when the process itself has created this possibility for kind of whatever the president says ultimately stands, and we cannot oppose it, we have to go to that in order to solve this problem. And that was achieved long before. The whole process of constitution making in 1978 is to create a situation where president can get what he wants. And this the whole, our system today is just a system that is created for one person, whoever it is, can get through by use of the majority in parliament, whatever he wants, whether it is correct or wrong or whatever the consequences are. Now, up to date, what we don't have is a strategy of displacing this situation. In other words, whether legal or illegal, it doesn't matter within this system. If you follow a certain process, which can be tampered with, but after that, there's what is called a formal law. Even the speaker signs the IGP's approving the IGP's position the same way. Make a formal argument. That's you can't get a consent from the Constitutional Council. So he puts his vote, even though he was not entitled to, and it formally becomes a law. So there is a fundamental problem in the whole setup. Unless that is that, I'm happy that the Vice President has already said what we have touched is a Himalayan task. It is an Himalayan task because destruction is so complete. We are dealing with one very, very important area you mentioned, very glaringly shows how bad the system has gone. But the solution lies in something much more fundamental. That is the taking up the whole issue of whether we have a right to complain, because if we have abandoned the basic principle that the rule of law does not matter, the rule of the president is all that matters, then anything is okay. And that is the situation we are in.
Thank you, Basil, for that. And I think it's a very important topic for us to understand as well. And Lasil has raised a hand. Lasil, yes, Lasil.
Yeah, I think it's a great pleasure to listen to a very well informed speech. Basically, both Mr. Basil Fernando and Mr. Jayasundara. I mean, having been in Parliament, I was also fully well aware what happens behind the scene. Now, to start with, particularly, sorry, we heard about the Easter Sunday report. Basically, it was not the whole report that was tabled in Parliament. And even in this particular case, there were allegations that the report was not tabled. And also, in addition, the order paper. The order paper is a thing that has to be tabled every day, and every member should have that on his table in Parliament, inside the chamber. So in the Parliament, how did this problem come up? Basically, why did this problem occur one after the other? Now we know, even with regard to this PTA, Prevention of Terrorism Act, during the days, even when it being proposed, there were discussions, or even in Parliament it was taken up, that it was in violation of the Constitution. But whatever said and done, as an urgent bill, they proposed it, they passed it, they enacted, though it was in violation of the Parliament. Now the biggest problem, how does this happen in Parliament? Can that ever happen in a Parliament like that? I don't think even in the House of Commons it will be permitted, because there's a process. And when a decision is taken, even to table something, there's a process. So what happens, these processes are broken down. Let it be even Privileges Act. It says the facts, the truth, with all the papers need to be tabled in Parliament when it has to be done. Let me go back, like what I said with regard to this PTA Act. PTA Act, even thereafter, even the judiciary, on a number of instances, suggested that it should be repealed. And Ranil Wickremesinghe promised, several times, I would say, I think on a number of occasions, that it will be abolished. But it has never happened. Now, this one, it is again, I know, I mean, Nagananda took it up with the Supreme Court. Actually, I was also an intervenient petitioner. Basically, I also wrote an article on that, and that was also published. This is a real fraud. Like Sunil said, can a list, on that basis, proportional representation, give the seats allocated, but can a member who has been defeated by the public, the citizens, can be allowed to go to Parliament? No, because that is not democratic in that case. So to cut the long story short, they have manipulated all that. They have even accommodated defeated members to go to Parliament, and a defeated member who was rejected by the people have been subsequently nominated, and Article 99, which section I forget, I mean, it specifically says it has to be done within 1 week. We saw the last on the last occasion when Diana was thrown out. The following day the members are appointed. Now, with regard to Ranil Wickremesinghe's seat, I mean, why did they take so long? I don't know. This is a serious problem in this country. Unfortunately, how did Parliament and how did the bureaucracy, how did the system ultimately permits all these kind of things? As very well pointed out, it is just the president. Now, president eventually, I would say, paved the way, for the erosion of the kind of supremacy in Parliament. So eventually what happened, the Parliament has become a rubber stamp. It should not be so. It can't happen that way. Parliament is a place where the debates have to be, where serious debates have to be taken, should be taken up. Unfortunately, there are instances where even the debates were not permitted, basically. Now look at this online bill. And the online bill is a total violation of the constitution, because basically the constitution specifies that there are so many rights given to the citizens, and all those, like even freedom of expression. Now those are few amendments that was approved by the US Parliament at the very early stages, if I remember right, third or fourth or whatever. So on that basis, they have strengthened the rights of the people for freedom of expression. Now, even in Sri Lanka, those things were there. Now, remember this, what is this famous court case, Janagosha. Supreme Court has specifically stated that the freedom for speak, for expression should not be touched. But all that happens term after term. Now, the biggest problem is, in a similar situation, what has happened? People have lost the confidence in parliament. That is a shame. So as a group of people who talk about democracy, all that, I think it is our duty to ensure the rights of the people, and what are specifically stated in black and white need to be protected. Now it is our duty again to understand how this became a problem. Now I have a book here with me in front. Now imagine the presidency was created having introduced the second amendment to the constitution long before the 78 constitution was enacted, I would say. On 23rd of September 1977, Mr. Jayasundara, then Prime Minister, had given the most important following 5 assurances before the National State Assembly, introducing the second amendment to the 1972 Constitution. One, he assured that the country that the supremacy of the legislature would remain unchanged. Two, he further promised that a fair and wide electoral system would be introduced. Three, further he guaranteed the people that the independence of the judiciary would not be interfered with. He emphasized the last one, the fifth one. He emphasized the country that he had no sinister motive of becoming a dictator or a fascist or taking power into his own hands. Now, again, the dates are there. Now, the first one, it says 23rd September 1977, column 1239. I'm a great believer in this house as an institute, and I want this house to continue with all its strength and powers, restrained only by its own decisions. So we are not touching that. Like that, it goes on. It will be very interesting to hear, even if I can read that. But I think it is better for us to go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one, further he assured that the sovereignty of the people would remain unaffected and unimpaired. But factually, it is revealed that these 5 assurances have subsequently been broken by the provisions enshrined in the 1978 Constitution, which ensued the following 5 distinctive components of the 1978 Constitution based political crisis, namely the erosion of the supremacy of parliament, the breach of the confidence of the people in lopsided electoral system newly introduced by the 78 Constitution. 3, the interference with the independence of the judiciary. 4, the development of a constitutional executive dictator through the executive presidency created by the Second Amendment to the 1972 Constitution. 5, the damage caused to the sovereignty of the people. Now, considering all this, I think in our proposal also 5-pillar system for uprooting all this, actually what we have proposed is completely a system turn, in the sense complete altogether. So whatever it is, I think for that purpose, it is very important, you know, everybody here, after all, agreed. Now, I would strongly recommend that the presidency should be abolished. Now, this is the root cause of all the problems. And I would say, if necessary, whatever said and done, it is important, at least if possible, even to take it up whoever, and if not, actually send our own people to parliament, because this needs two-third approval of the House and probably even a referendum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lazil, for all that informative talk. And it's very good to know what has gone wrong in the system, at least in a smaller scale like this. So Ranjan has raised hand. Ranjan, yes, Ranjan. You have to unmute as well, Ranjan.
Thank you. Okay now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chula, and good evening to all. First point, Article 4A, allowing non-elected individuals to enter Parliament. Actually, we have today, as our President, not only a person who is not elected, but actually a person rejected by the people. He offered himself for election and he was rejected. So actually we have gone from bad to worse. That's point one. Point two, you see, sometimes a very good person, who deserves to be in parliament cannot get elected, or even if he ventures to contest, he may be rejected. I think a very good example was Lakshman Khadiraga. Now, who in this forum or anywhere else, will, there is a message here, confirm your speaking language. It sounds like you might have switched to a different language. Please update it so we can provide better quality transcription. What can I do?
Don't worry, just carry on.
Okay.
Just carry on. Yeah, thanks.
So you see, sometimes, as I said, I gave you the example of Lakshman Khadiragama. If he would, even if he had ventured to contest, there's very little chance that he would have been elected. But who in this country will deny that he deserves to have been in parliament by election? You see, our people should have elected people like that. And we in system change Perumuna are aiming at that standard. You see, so we have to be a little more circumspect when we look at this issue from other angles as well. See, there were many instances like that. Many years ago, see, there was CWW Kannangara. He lost his seat, but he gave free education to all. He didn't win his seat. So will anyone stick to law and say, no, he lost, he cannot be in parliament? Can we say that? So ultimately, what does this boil down to? Political ethics, no? It's ethics. You see, the human factor, the human element, that is, you have the letter of the law, but you also have that is the body. The soul is the ethics. You see, the ethical side of it. We have failed to take that factor into consideration. I would like you, this forum, to give adequate weightage to that fact. Actually, what this country is, what Sri Lanka, our country, is suffering from is not laws. My God, there are enough and more laws. I read somewhere a professor saying in the last 2 years, we have passed 75 laws. See, we have passed 75 laws on these subjects. You see, where have we gone? The latest example I can tell you is this. Now the IMF wanted the country, the company, the fiscal money, that is the money of the government, to be kept separate from the central bank country's money. In charge of the central bank is in charge of the country's money, the monetary board. They wanted this separated. And what do you think this government has done? They wanted, IMF wanted, which this is correct. We should not have waited till the government, till the IMF told us to do it. We should have known that long ago. See, anyway, now this law was passed, and a separate institution was appointed, created, not yet appointed, PDMA, Public Debt Management Agency. Right? What do you think the government has done? It brought it is placed under the thumb of the finance minister. So where is the separation? Where is the separation? It's placed under the somebody else, some MP highlighted, and it was highlighted in a newspaper also. You see, so you see what is more than ever in Sri Lanka. This is what we are we are aiming at. You see, find honest, sincere people to lead the country. It is the ethical side that has got to be emphasized. I thank you.
Thank you, Ranjan, for that summary of things. And I think it's so important that we understand what's been talked about, and also ethical standards of how we work as well. And Kugadas Ramadas, you have raised your hand as well, Kugadas, yes? Kugadas?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hate to go through the past history again and again instead of looking forward what we should do. But when I listened to them, I thought there are some misconceptions that I need to go to the past unwillingly. We talk about as if the whole people's sovereignty was lost in 72, 78 constitutions. But everybody forgets part of the people's sovereignty was lost in 1948 when the citizenized the Indian labor. Again, it was lost in 1956 when the Sinhala Only Act came. We said the 5 pillars, at that time there were only 4: the constitution, executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. But apart the constitution by 29(2) section upheld the sovereignty of everyone. But both the 1948 Indian labor legislation and the 1956 Sinhala only legislation did take away, that is, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. All three took away the sovereignty of some of the people, and nobody was bothered about it. And it was to some extent judiciary intervened by means of Privy Council regarding the 56 Sinhala Only Act and stopping the promotions of Kodiswara. But that also was destroyed. So the first time that sovereignty was lost, not in 72, not in 78, but in 1948, and then followed by 1956. The rule of law, it was not lost in recent years. It was lost in 1956, 58, 77, 83, drastically. We did not talk about it. And we are talking about corruption. The main reason for corruption is not anything else but economic. When the economy is so bad, everyone want to make money by unscrupulous means. That's what's happening. Why did our economy went wrong? We had to look at it. When the British was there, the economy was better. With our Appe Andua, their economy went so bad. When the economy goes bad, corruption and all those comes back. So you have to look at why when the sovereignty was lost, what do we do that? How do we rectify it? Part of the people's sovereignty nobody talks about. Even today, we don't talk and emphasize about how do we solve the problems of the minority. Even 3 days back, somebody commemorating or remembering their lost ones, the police went and arrested 4 females in their house in the middle of the night and took them to the police station. Do we talk about it? No, we don't. And how do we solve that? We do not talk about it. If I remember correctly, only even the leftist, if I look at Lenin, he said every minority has the right for self-determination up to the point of cessation. JVP doesn't accept it. At least, even today, how much of we are talking about the horizontal separation of powers, which will solve the major problem? We are not talking about it. Why? I think we should discuss all this and come to a conclusion that will give back the sovereignty, not of few people or more people, but every one of them, and how we are going to give that sovereignty back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram, for pointing that out. We got 5 people raised hands. Maybe they want to answer you as well. This is why we are trying to walk what we are talking. So, and both Lasil and Ranjan is here, who are leading the system change, and they are listening to your comments. And I think it's good to bring it up so they can address these issues to everyone's satisfaction as we go. Yes, Ram, thank you. And then we have Leonard. Leonard? Leonard, you can hear me, can't you? You can hear me? Yeah? Just log out and log in. I'll get the other person and then we will talk. Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. Basil?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The issue which I stopped the last time was came back with the intervention of Ranjan. And I think it is also connected to the last speaker. So I thought that I will intervene again. I'm sorry for that. The question of the ethical problem, both in relation to the sovereignty of the people as well as the problems we are facing. I think this is one area in which the crux of the matter about the many things that we talked about comes in. In the ethical theory, in global debate for centuries, there is one central issue. It is that in ethics and morality rest on the one premise that there are punishments for wrongs and rewards for what is good. Theory of rewards and punishments is at the heart of the ethical theory. This is exactly where the today's problem get tied up with. We are trying to make it as if two things: legal issue is one thing, ethical issue is another thing. No, it get wedded up on this issue. Sri Lanka has become a country where you can do any wrong without punishments. And that is when we talk about the rule of law issue, it means that to have the whole system of the modern state is built on the idea that the state is able to maintain law and order, which means keeping his house in order so that other things can be done. Economy can run, the normal services can take place, because fundamentally the state functions. And state can function only to the extent that the criminal law of the country works. Criminal law is the handmaid of ethics. You take away criminal law from any country, you will not have any ethics. You will instead have barbarism. People can go to the point of eating each other. Now that is what is the kind of thing that has been happening. And I agree with the previous speaker. It is not only in 72 or 78. This has a much more longer history. But from my point of view, that history goes beyond what the speaker was speaking about. It is goes into our cultural heritage. Cultural heritage, at least from about 8th century in our country, was based on caste system. Caste system means disproportionate punishment. That is, the people who are poor, people who have no power will be punished. People who are at the top will not be punished. I don't want to go into those histories for the sake of history, but that is the theory that applies even today. If you are at the top, if you have those, they are not punished. They are beyond punishment. So if you are really seriously talking about ethics, then you have to talk about how to bring people answerable, irrespective of whether they are big or small. And that is where we have failed. And that is what, although 72 and 71 are not the only, they are climax. They brought to a climax many things that have happened earlier. And Jayawardena made a constitution within which you can get away from punishments. First of all, himself. That is what the impunity for the president for even for crimes. And through him to everybody at the top, the ministers and the parliamentarians and all that, they know one thing. There's nobody is going to punish us. We have just now had the Rathupa Solar case. What has happened? People protested against poisoning of water. Can there be anything more natural than that protest when you are given water that is poisonous? And they were shot, and so many were killed and injured, and there were protests. And finally, what happens? Attorney General makes sure that these people will go free. So that is what is happening in terms of the Easter Sunday massacre. The system makes sure that those who did it go free. What is the ethic we are talking about? Ethics of killing and getting away with it? Ethic of robbery and getting away with it? Now that is where I think we should, re-examine our way of articulating problem. If you separate these two, ethics and the rule of law and this issue, so long as we do that, we will only be helping the rogues. the rogues are very good at using the ethical language, but at the same time, we have very good, day in and day out, all the people preaching ethics. But who is putting his neck and say that those who do wrong should be punished? But that is the heart of the ethical theory. So we are missing the very heart of ethics, not only law.
Thank you, Basil, for that very fundamental point, because that makes a huge difference to the way we should work and understand. And let's see, Lasil is raised hand as well. Lasil, sorry, Lasil, Leonard is back. Shall I ask Leonard to try again? Leonard,
All right.
are you still muted? I still can't hear you. I'll mute you and ask you to unmute and see whether it works. Can you talk now? According to on this side, you're open, but I can't hear anything. It's something to do with your mic, maybe. When you're close, we can hear a little bit. Talk now. No, we can't hear it. No, we can't hear it. You can try without the earpods, see whether it works on the computer audio. Something to do with the mics, I don't know. Can you talk now? Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Now you can hear you. It's something to do
Can
with,
you?
yeah, we can hear now. Thanks.
So it must be the earphone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clear. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, as you know, I have some interest in the anthropology of religions. And this problem, when you look at it from the Sri Lankan perspective, we see that about 99% of the Sri Lankans have a religion and 70% are Buddhist. And we have in all religions this strong point of ethics. And previous speakers, Ranjan and Basil, spoke so strongly about the ethics in the religion. And I believe that ethics of governance is a very important aspect that we have missed out. And my good friend Jivananda would speak about what Buddha really taught. And that's the Buddhism. It's not so much putting the name in a constitution or trying to demonstrate that one is a good Buddhist by giving some money to a temple or showing something to the public, but it's in the ethics, in the Dhamma. And this is what we could see in the way King Asoka governed India. And so we have a platform on which we could make the public aware and make this system change within what is there on the consciousness of people. And I feel that, again, the system change has to take into account this change in the ethics of governance, which Buddha taught, and which people of all religions accept very strongly. And we find this is a big issue. Well, within the political platform, you can have some manipulations at the policy level, not so much in manipulating constitutions and manipulating legislation. And that's where the problem we have seen as Sunil also expressed with JR's constitutions, and how everybody coming into politics seems to be playing this game. And what we need is integrity, honesty, and transparency. And these are the ethical principles, and Basil put it very strongly, that you have to reward the right and punish the wrong. And that's not happening. And one of my friends was telling me he went to Sri Lanka, and when I told him about all these issues that are happening, corruption, uh, and all these manipulations, and he seems to think that this is the culture. And I think Basil mentioned that from 8th century there was this issue, but say some think that if you punish those who have done wrong, that is against our culture. Now, that also has to change. Well, we have to be kind, merciful, forgiving, and all those aspects are there. But at the same time, we should not allow evil to overcome the good. And in the ethical principles, we have to maintain these values. Otherwise, there will be anarchy, there will be chaos. So what I'm trying to say is that in our system change, this change in the concept of religion, concept of ethics has to come in very strongly. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard, for that. And we got very good conversation going. I mean, just to summarize now from all this, it's basically the rule of law has to be applied with punishment or rewards equally to everyone. That's kind of the summary we are getting to get into ethics. So what you said is very important, and I'm sure our leaders will take into account these things. Lasil, yes, Lasil.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. Thank you so much, Shula. Actually, I just want to tell something about what Ram said, my good friend. And we have discussed this issue, the same issue about 56, 48, all those. Now, in 48, when they enacted the law to disenfranchise the state Tamils, basically that was a law again passed by, you know, those in the parties, whether they are Tamils or Sinhalese or Muslims, right? That was the case. But now here, we will not do it that way. We will definitely ensure that, you know, people are treated equally. And on the whole, there are reasons why they did that during those periods. They say probably, you know, even DSA and I, one of the leaders whom I respect so much, that's my personal feeling. Sometimes Ram may not agree. That's another story. Now, let me tell this way. Then in 1948, a Sinhala gentleman went to court in Kegol, and he said it was wrong for them to be deprived of their voting rights. Actually, the High Court, I think it was High Court, they upheld that. Unfortunately, even the court order was not enforced because the politicians were thinking otherwise. So these were wrong things. I'm not trying to justify all that. But you know, even in America, the so-called whatever five-star democracy, it has come down, and it is now a flawed democracy. So in our case, I mean, naturally, actually, we should understand the basic issues. Now, the problem was everybody contributed to the destruction, you know. So naturally, all what we need to do, because we have experienced a kind of, how do I say it, developed a constitutional dictator at present. So what should we do now? Even in Parliament, like what I said previously, there are laws that are enacted which are in violation of the Parliament, and Parliament can't do that. I would like to point out, which I just forgot to mention, there is a doctrine called colorable legislation. That means the laws that cannot be passed direct cannot be passed even indirectly. So what happens, even those laws that cannot be enacted in Parliament have been passed, even in 1940, that was what happened. And there was a law which says, you know, it will be repealed if in case it's a violation of fundamental rights and rights of the people. Basically, even that didn't happen when in fact there was provision to repeal such laws. So this was our country. Similar things have happened even in USA or UK, wherever the so-called developed democracies. What we are trying to enforce, what we are trying to do right now is to ensure nobody will escape, because there are checks and balances not only through the court of law. There are other institutions also. There will be powers given to various, the police, attorney general. Then there are so many other ways, even in parliament, right? They have to take up those issues. Now the parliament looks so blind. There are deaths, say extrajudicial killings, and there are even worse things happening when sometimes even your enemies are dealt with. So we are trying to create a system where such things will not happen. Now we all have to agree, because whatever said and done, even now it happens not simply because of the culture. Now Ram said it is because poor economic situation. No, even when the situation is good, economically strong, things have happened in. Now see, even in UK, there are various stories I can quote. Even in Japan, even in Malaysia, even in USA, what is this? Richard Nixon Watergate incident, right? So likewise, there were things that had happened. What I am trying to say, it is high time for us to take these things seriously. Look at what happened past, and go forward. Ram, I have a nice book written by a Tamil gentleman, A. Tyagaraja, The Economic Development of Ceylon. He speaks about the problem. What we had was our industries, all that was there, but the problem is diversification did not take place. So we have understood the shortcomings that we had gone through. All what I want to say, particularly, let's build up the whole thing. Let us try and resolve different issues, because now I must tell you, in 1983 I was just married, right? I was coming after my honeymoon, and in Colombo it was chaos. We were at Tulkote then. I didn't even have a card that during that period, just married. So I had to, borrow my cousin's car next door. And I went to Anderson Golf Links for flats, because my boss was a Tamil who's now in Australia, one Mr. Sivanagam. I love him so much. So naturally, everybody, whatever they had to do on the part of citizens, they did their role. But when the country or when the government is behind the whole thing, I mean, that is what we need to stop now. I think we are on the right kind of path. We have understood how the system has been sort of distorted, destroyed, or broken down. So let's all get together. What is important is that, I think, if that is possible, if there is unity, I think we should be able to overcome those things and then push through all these amendments, implement these suggestions. And that's what we should do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lasil, for that. And yes, we got another only half an hour. So yes, Ranjan. You are muted still. Yeah, Ranjan, thank you.
Thank you, Choda. Thank you all. 2 points about ethics. I thank Leonard for having amplified very clearly the point I made about ethics. So long as we only focus only on the legal side, the literal side, and not give sufficient importance to ethics, we will have a fourth constitution. We have had 3. Now we are going to have 4, and this will go on forever and ever. I have put in the chat a message reminding all of us about what Alexander Pope said 280 years ago. 280 years. What he said is so true of today, of Ceylon today, Sri Lanka today. You see, it is unfortunate that this side of laws, the spirit of the law is not emphasized sufficiently. We should have a code of ethics. Sri Lanka should have a code of ethics for politics backed, which is legally enforceable. I say this again. Sri Lanka should have, for politics in Sri Lanka, a code of ethics which is legally enforceable. It should be legally enforceable, not just now in England there is a moral code of conduct that is not legally enforceable, but it is there. Anyway, some progress there. We have nothing. That's one. I don't want to, since we have very little time left, I'll stop there. The other point, important point I wanted to refer to only is this long vexed ethnic problem of ours. So long as we do not solve this problem permanently, we will never be able to build a sustainable economy. We'll never be able to build our economy on a solid foundation. So what I see is the traditional route that we have taken to solve this problem is a dead end. I think there is an excellent opportunity to those who think outside the box. We can solve this. We can solve this very confidently, I can say this. Taking the economic route. Taking the economic route. So by approaching the mind of the ordinary citizen, by telling them that to solve our economic problems, we have to decentralize and devolve. See, and that is true. We have to decentralize. Concentration of power at the center, see, has only resulted in more and more corruption. One of the main solutions to that, answers to that is devolution and decentralization. I don't want to take any more time because there are others waiting to speak, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Ranjan. Yes, we should take up that as well, decentralization and devolution as something that is important for us. Yeah, thank you again. And we have Sunil, you have raised hand again, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, please, you can come along.
Thank you. About the rule of law. Now, it's well known that it has been eroded. And the judicial system in Sri Lanka, they say it's not independent, right? Now, who is responsible for this erosion of the judicial system? And who is responsible for that? Because the lawyers now, quite recently, they say they are not free, you know. It's very unfortunate, I mean, to say that. Some may agree, but I have to say this, you know. One second. So what I say is, but from my point of view, this in Sri Lanka, we have this president council system in Sri Lanka, which we don't see this kind of system ever exist except UK. Now, the biggest democracies around us, India, Pakistan, and Southeast Asia, they don't practice this president council system. I don't know how you feel, but I think this is one of the reasons, because as you know, 1972 Constitution, Dr. Pollinard Chilla, Piris Dias, they got rid of this PC system, your KCQC system, and the country was all right for another 10 years up to 1984. Very unfortunately, former president, he wanted to grab this legal fraternity under his thumb. So he was manipulating, he was a very good manipulator, as you know. In 1984, by 8th Amendment, he brought this president council system, saying that those who got 20 years experience are eligible to be titled as president council system. This is, in my point of view, is a direct bribing the legal fraternity and influencing them. Since then, the country has gone for this erosion. I don't know how you can, whether you agree with this or not, but it's my view, this kind of system is not suitable at all. Simple reason, when they were garlanded with this title, President Council System, their Jayawardena didn't forget to put a knot. තෝන් ලනුව දාලා බෙල්ලට ලනුව අතර ගත්තා. එදා ඉඳලා මේ ලනුව තියෙන්නේ දේශපාලඥයාගේ අතේ. Even the junior lawyers, when they start their professions, one day they want to be a president council because it's good money, right? You know, the money they charge. Once you are, known as a president council, is huge. So they also look at that way. And they want to be in good books of the politicians. They don't, our president council, they don't open their mouth, even in a constitutional matter or anything, hardly anything they do, because they want to be very good with the politicians. They don't want to harm them, because one day they need them. So this introduction, this system introduced by former president is very, very have ill effects for the country. And one of the recent critical judgment, as you know, we have shall, right? As Ranil Wickremesinghe, he came to the parliament after 7 months instead of 7 days. And the final judgment was that shall, meaning, is not mandatory, but directory. So, at Singaling Keno, the Talagoya, Habaragoya, Talagoya Karanai Kela, they interpreted this shall, which is repeated in 1250 times in our constitution, is, degraded, what can I say? It's pahat karra, eka just directory, but not mandatory. What they did was, they cited a case in India some time back, where a police person, under the police ordinance, that guy was reinstated, saying that shall was in that particular instance, it was not mandatory, it's just directory. So citing that case, he won the case in Sri Lanka, and the judges gave the benefit, saying that this shall is not mandatory, it is just directory. That means within 7 days or any amount, 7 months, they can come to the parliament. So this is the situation we are in. So what can you expect? Very little blow. The place where they make laws and doing this, right, interpreting the laws in their benefit, to their politicians' benefit, where are we going? What are we going to do with this system change? Are we addressing these points or not? So I need an answer from you, for or against. I would like to hear that. Thank you.
Yes, Faisal, are you going to answer him or you got different thing? Faisal?
Sorry, Sunil, your points are very crystal clear. I think you hit the nail on the head in your presentation. My question is, okay, to you, what is your suggestion to introduce these kinds of amendments into the new system? How are we going to progress it to the next level? That is my question to you, Sunil.
Thank you. Thank you, Faisal, for your comment. But I would like to think this has to be corrected for our next generations, right? First, we have to bring awareness of these things, but these systems, nobody talks about, right? Nobody wants to, if you talk to a couple of lawyers, They just say, yes, we should have this system. Nobody wants to say against that. Yeah, they like it from local lawyers' point of view. So again, even the politicians, they don't want to talk about it because they are benefited, just like this, as I said about the defeated candidates. As you know, in the past, all the parties, all the recognized parties have been benefited through that list. Right? All the parties have got, so they don't want to open their mouth, even when they go to the parliament or not. Similarly, even the lawyers, they will not open their mouth because someday it is going to be beneficial for them. Someday they can be president council, and then make money. So they don't want to. Okay, then what are we going to do it? So first we have to have a forum. We have to speak out because I am the only person who has taken this point because I have experienced this very well in my life, these people, how they are behaving with this, a person he was getting about 15, 20,000, immediately after 20,000, 20 years, when he become a lawyer, he wants, okay, I need 60,000 for a month or 1 lakh, and for my junior, I need another 10,000, right? Then I started analyzing this, how it started. Then only I found out this is the 8th Amendment. JR had done it like that for his benefit under his thumb to give these guys, right? At the same time, he put a තෝල් ලනුව දැම්ම බෙල්ලට දාලා ලනු අතට ගත්තා. ඒ ලනුව අපේ ඊළඟ ජෙනරේෂන්ස් වලටමත් ඔය ලනුව අරගෙන යනවාමයි. That is that is definite because nobody wants to talk about nobody, no lawyer, nobody. I bet you talk to about 100 people in our society, they just keep mum. They don't want to even open their mouth. Thank you.
Yeah, Sunil, that goes down to the point that Ranjan raised, that they have a thing that is binding. For example, everybody takes an oath for office when they come into certain posts, in whether it's government, a lawyer, or whoever it is. Why aren't these people challenging court for breaching such rules, oath of office? That is my question. So as for the Joint Parliament, I hope Lasil and Ranjan will have a strategic plan how we are going to take these people and hold these people accountable under the new vision of the new generations to come, so they can uphold the rule of law in ethics and integrity. Thanks, Sunil, for your answer. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Faisal. And Sunil, just to answer about this, you talk about presidential council and commissions. And in the UK, you have a public inquiry is what take place. And when you take a public inquiry, you can even call the prime minister to answer. I mean, at the moment, 2 inquiries are going on. One about a postal office scandal, and everyone was talked about. And some time ago, Boris Johnson appeared in one, and he had to leave. So things like that. It's quite serious. It's totally independent. So you need that kind of a public inquiry system, where when the government is at fault, they can be brought into inquiry. That's what it is. So Lasil, yes, Lasil. Lasil? Lasil, you raised the hand, Lasil. What happened? Lasil, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. And I think a very good question, basically, how we are going to enforce those laws. Now, remember, I just want to quote one thing. Now, basically, in 1970, they came up with the question, the laws, delays, etc. So what happened? Felix Das Bandaranaike introduced the system, and eventually, it resolved most of the issues, and they were able to speed up the cases and all that. So naturally, there are even precedents where we can follow locally and even overseas. What I'm trying to say, the system can be corrected only if we have a legislature which is somewhat concerned. I always say this was Mark Miller or somebody, an author. He had said Parliament should be the eyes, ears, and the voice of the people in a democracy. So, unfortunate situation in our country, which is, it's not that. So, our effort is always to ensure that all these, 5 pillars are functioning independently. If that functions independently, there'll be no problem whatsoever, because nobody can interfere with the other. If the judiciary is functioning independently, whether it is the president, because there'll be nobody above the law. What has really gone wrong here in this country, it is the president eventually who has who will always poke into others and then disturb everything. You saw what happened when the provincial council elections were there. Ultimately, president said no money and no elections. How can he say that? Because there were precedents in the past when Sirima ultimately delayed, the elections. Her civic rights were removed. There are other instances also where members of parliament, when they were corrupt, and there were 5 of them in 1958, there was a law enacted and they were dealt with, their civic rights were removed. So naturally, what we need is a parliament that is effective, impartial, independent, and progressive, So if that could be done, definitely half the problems are solved,
Thank you, Lasil. I got Ranjan raise hand again. Ranjan, yes, Ranjan.
The point I want to make is we have to change, the changes we have in mind that we want to make has to be made. To make those changes, we have to go through this existing system. You see, we can't expect to the people that we don't, there is no other way we can do that. There is no other way. See, if there is any other way, please tell me, because it is only through this system that we have to take control. We have to take control now to make the changes. So we have to go through this system. So there is no other way. Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ranjan. That is why we have taken this stand of system change Peramuna, because we explored all the other means whether we can intervene as public. We cannot do anything because we just be talking and hitting the heads against our balls. That's why the system change Peramuna has taken place. And please come through that, and I'm sure the leaders there will be very open to discussion, take this forward. Today was a very good meeting. Thank you all. And we had very good ideas and particularly about the ethics and the rule of law. And the next week meeting will probably be a little bit more interesting than this. So I invite you all to participate. I'll keep communicating shortly. Thank you all. Very good night, very good evening. For some, it's good morning as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.